Barbie, can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
Barbie.
Truman needs to know what's next.
What's next?
Oppenheimer. Godzilla -1. What do these three films have in common? Well, they're all movies that are in my list of my top 10 favorite movies of 2023, and that is the subject of this special edition of Talking About the Movies. Now, every week on the show, we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. However, this weekend, and actually next weekend, to be quite honest with you, it is not that big of a new release weekend. But it is important to go back and take a look at the movies of 2023. And I gotta say, 2023 was a very interesting year on my part. It was the year where I basically just decided, you know what? Screw what anybody else has to say. I just have to be who I am. Like, I'm going to talk about movies that I do like, that not a lot of people really like. I'm going to talk about movies that I don't like, that a lot of people really like. And I don't care about the repercussions that come from after that. And, it basically kind of changed my morality of how I look at movies and TV shows pretty much. And, you know, 2023, when you really look at it, was not a bad year for movies. We actually got a lot more from this year than I think a lot of people would have ever expected. Yeah, the box office numbers may not have been that great, but there were some movies that were actually kind of a lot more enjoyable than I think a lot of people let on. And, you know, who would have thought in a year like 2023 where we'd have one movie in particular that really should have been targeted to one specific demographic and yet just became this big global phenomenon that a lot of people really did not see coming. We didn't see that happen with just one movie, now that I think about it. 2 movies that came out on the same day. And, you know, maybe they'll be on my list. I mean, you never know. But yeah, I wanted to... And actually, this list turned out to be much more difficult than I could have possibly imagined because of what happened in December. I saw a couple of movies that I thought were actually really good, and I basically had to redo my entire list to make sure I got this right, because ordinarily when I do this list, I usually am going to forget movies that I really should have seen, like some of the big Oscar contenders, but most of I didn't get to see every movie though, but I did see a couple of movies that really did make me change and alter my list around, and movies that I thought that, like, I think people would really lose it if I don't put this on here, and I really do agree that they should be on this list. So some things had to be moved around. Some movies I couldn't put on my actual top 10. They'd be in the honorable mentions, but it just became very, very difficult to put this list together. So yeah, I feel like that. Like, right now, I'm comfortable with the list I have here, but it really wouldn't surprise me if down the road some of these movies would actually move up, or I actually prefer some of these movies more than I put them on before. But this was a very difficult list to put together because it was an overall very good year for movies. So before we actually get to the top 10, let's talk about my honorable mentions, because there are a lot of them. And so I'm going to be real quick on these ones here, and I'm going to start off with the first one I have here, Chang Can Dunk, which was a Disney Plus movie, which is basically about, you have this kid who's an Asian American high school student in the marching band who bets the school basketball star that he can dunk by homecoming. And the bet leads to this kid going on a quest to finding the hops he needs to dunk in order to impress his crush and finally gain the attention and respect of his high school peers. But before he can rise up and truly throw one down, he has to re-examine everything he knows about himself, about his friendships and his families. And it's a really surprising, charming, and quietly known film that came out on Disney Plus. The great acting overall, a good coming-of-age story. The story is well done. The meanings are nicely executed. It's a warm-hearted and really entertaining film that should definitely get a lot more attention than it has right now. I don't know if it's still on Disney Plus right now, but if you could find it somewhere, if it's not on Disney Plus, you should definitely check it out. And by the way, these are in no particular order. I should have mentioned beforehand, but the rest of my honorable mentions go like this. Blue Beetle, probably my favorite DC movie this year. The one that definitely reminded me a lot of Shazam in terms of, like, the family elements and some of the elements that are a little bit more extreme. Even though I really like Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Blue Beetle, I think, was the definitive DC film of 2023, which really isn't saying a whole lot compared to what we got, but I really do hope that we get to see more Blue Beetle in this new DC cinematic universe that James Gunn is developing, which I think he said he's going to put him in there, so I think that's good to see that he's going to get more attention there. I think it's definitely a well-deserved a film that deserves more attention. Definitely check that one out. Elemental, a film that started off as one of the biggest bombs in Pixar history and yet went on to become one of the more successful films they had, and it's a really good story. It's a really solid film. Animation-wise, it's great. It has two great characters you really want to get behind. Really good film, really impressive visual style they have to it. I really enjoy this movie a lot. Last Voyage of the Demeter, very underrated film, very good horror film, Dracula period piece film that takes place on a ship during a storm. I mean, just great visuals all around, a great gothic setting, really great film. Not a lot of people going to go see it, unfortunately, but it's definitely worth seeing it. Seeing it if you can find it somewhere. If it comes out on Halloween next year, definitely check it out. So, Skinamarink. This is one that was probably the most polarizing film of the year. You either love this movie or you hate it. I love this movie only for one specific reason, and that's because I've had nightmares like this kid has in this movie. The ones that don't make no sense whatsoever. You think something is there, and then you look, and then you go, split second, it's not there anymore. Things start moving around at you. Like I have nightmares that don't make a whole lot of sense, and that's what this movie reminded me so much. And like I said, not everybody's gonna like this movie. Not everybody's gonna appreciate this movie. But I'm one of those people that just really got sucked into it because I've had nightmares like this kid has had. So, yeah, I know it's not going to appease to everybody, but for me personally, I liked it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In a bad year for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this was the one that really stood out because it ended the Guardians of the Galaxy storyline on a really good note. It's definitely not the best of the series. In fact, I would probably say it's the weakest of the series, but it still doesn't mean it's a bad movie in general. Like, it's a really good story. You really do get invested in Rocket Raccoon's backstory. I like the way that they brought Gamora back and didn't make her and Peter fall in love again, like I thought they were going to. I like the conclusion that they came to this. I like the finale that they came to the conclusion with all these characters in general. It's a very good story. It's a very good way to wrap the story up, and you don't know if we're ever going to see these characters again with James. I don't think you really shouldn't with James Gunn not there anymore, but you never know. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the one bright spot for the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2023. John Wick Chapter 4. Talk about a series that gets better and better with every film. Like, this is a film that started off with a film that did not look very promising from the trailers, but as the films got more and more, we got more and more into the storyline of the universe. I mean, it's really good, really great stuff, and this one is easily the best of the bunch. And I like that it sets itself up as probably the finale of the series. One would hope that be the case, but never say never in Hollywood. But Keanu Reeves, once again, does a great job. The action sequences are really great. They do a good job of wrapping the story up. Terrific film. Can't recommend this one enough. Tetris, the film with Matthew Vaughn. No, he didn't direct this one, I don't think. He produced this one, but it has his Kingsman star, Taron Egerton. And basically, you have the story of based on the true events around the race to license and patent the video game Tetris from Russia in the late 1980s during the Cold War. It's a really great movie. Taron Egerton gives a really good performance in this, and it has this unique style to it that really you do not see coming at all. And the music, I love my 1980s music. You put the Final Countdown on, and you can just have me. I'm yours. And it's just like, this is really a really good film that it's one of those reasons that makes me want to get Apple TV Plus more and more. I'm not fully sold on it yet, still, but it's one of those movies that makes me really want to get it. So that's one I really recommend, Tetris. Migration, Illumination's newest film that just came out. It was a really good year for Illumination, as we'll get to in just a second here. I really like this movie a lot. It's a good comfort food. It's a story that's not too grand, not too intense. These birds just want to get to Jamaica, but they end up getting lost along the way. And got a great voice cast: Kamal Nanjiani, Elizabeth Banks, Danny DeVito. You really like these characters a lot. It kind of the family dynamic there kind of reminds me of Bob's Burgers, which there you go. But yeah, I got a lot of Bob's Burgers vibes from watching these characters, and maybe I'm the only one that sees that, but I thought the movie was really good. The animation was really good. This is the guy who directed Ernest and Celestine. Really good film. It's still playing in theaters. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out. Asteroid City, I love me some Wes Anderson. This is probably not one of his better films, but it's very much a Wes Anderson type of film. It's a film that has a visual style to it, a unique blend of comedic elements to it, a really strong cast, moments that you'll remember in the long run. Like I said, it's not one of Wes Anderson's best movies, but he's that guy that always knows just what to do to entertain his audience, and I'm part of that audience. I love me some Wes Anderson. I really like this movie a lot. No One Will Save You. This was the film directed by the guy who gave us the criminally underrated Love and Monsters, and this stars Caitlin Dever as this young woman living alone who's shunned by the local townspeople and actually must fight off a home invasion that has unexpected consequences. And the interesting thing about this is that it only has 5 words of dialogue spoken throughout the entire movie. This is a movie that's over an hour and a half long, and these are the type of movies I really like. These movies that don't have a whole lot of dialogue, they let the acting do the talking, and it's really good stuff. It's visually stunning, it's very creepy, and it just works on so many levels. It's a really great underrated film that came out on Hulu this past fall. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it already. Air, Ben Affleck's movie about the making of the Air Jordan shoes. Who would have guessed that you could make a good movie about Michael Jordan without having Michael Jordan involved in it? Because there's no actor in here that plays Michael Jordan. You only see like the back of him, but you got a great cast in here. Affleck, Matt Damon, Chris Tucker, Viola Davis, Chris Messina. It's a really, really great film that came out on Amazon earlier this year. I can't recommend this one enough. Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's latest film. Another great movie from him. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone. Lily Gladstone should definitely be considered for Best Supporting Actress this year. She really steals the show. It's a great movie, and kind of like with another movie we'll get to in the top 10, it's a movie that's over 3 hours long, but you never feel like you're there for 3 hours. You're just so invested in what's going on. You just go along for the ride, and you get a great movie in the process. It shows that Martin Scorsese still has what it takes after all these years. Killers of the Flower Moon. Super Mario Brothers movie. This is one of those ones that was really tough for me to take out of the top 10, but I still really like this movie a lot. It didn't have to do a whole lot. It just had to show, kind of like what Sonic the Hedgehog did a couple years ago, just show what you can do if you have good people, but if you have people that know the source material, people that know what they're doing, put that in front of the camera, and let's see what happens here. And they do a pretty good job here. It's a straightforward origin story for the Super Mario Brothers, and they really captured the world very well here. And this is not only made by the guys who made Despicable Me, it's directed by the guys who did Teen Titans Go, which I'm not the biggest fan of that show, but I like the movies and all, but the fact that they came together to make this movie as great as it is, more power to them. Story-wise, nothing too spectacular, but it delivers what it was supposed to do, and I'm really excited to see where they go down the road from here. And last but certainly not least for my honorable mentions, The Color Purple. A different take on the classic novel by Alice Walker, who had previously adapted this to the great Steven Spielberg film from 1985. This one is really good. I like what they did to change this up and distance itself from the original film, taking in a lot of elements from the Broadway musical, having Fantasia Barrino, who was in the Broadway musical in this movie, works out to the film's advantage. It's got a great cast overall. Halle Bailey, Taraji P. Henson, Coleman Domingo, Corey Hawkins. Phenomenal cast in this movie. It's a great film that really does not... It's not just a straightforward remake of the original film, but what it does so well here, it just works on its own. Visually, it's writing-wise, acting-wise, it works on its own. It's a really great film. Definitely check that one out. So, those are my honorable mentions for 2023. And now it's time for the main event. Let's take a look at my top 10 movies of 2023. And coming in at number 10 to start the list off, we have the biggest movie of the year, and that is, of course, Barbie. And who would have guessed that in 2023, a movie about Barbie would have the seismic impact that it's had in terms of pop culture? I mean, it's a movie that not just appeals to teenage girls or any girl in particular. It can appeal to anybody, men, women, transgender people, whoever you are. Like, you could find something about this movie to really admire about it. And I do like that Greta Gerwig, who directed the Little Women remake a couple years ago, is given pretty much free range to do whatever she wants. This is the movie that I thought Don't Worry Darling was going to be like in 2022, but except this time they get it right here. You've got a great cast a star-studded cast led by Margot Robbie as Barbie, who's fantastic in here. Ryan Gosling, he's fantastic as Ken. Definitely should be considered for a Best Supporting Actor nomination. I don't know if he should win. I still have my pick coming up later on in this list, but visually, it's a visually stunning film to look at. It's a film that is very funny, very creative. Has a great message to tell for little girls. I mean, it's a story that really can relate to for a lot of people. It's a story that can really transcend other aspects of life. It's just a really solid, well-made film that just really could have easily gone a completely cynical way, but it really does not do that. It finds just enough there to appease to anybody who really has a good heart to themselves and can find a lot to really appreciate about it. It isn't just a movie about a doll. It's a movie about more than that. And I really give this film a lot of credit for taking those chances and making it work and creating all these memorable moments to it. Like, this is the film that we're going to be talking about when we think of the best movies of 2023 and the best movies of the decade as a whole. Maybe one of the more influential movies of this decade to come, as we're going to see as we still got 7 more years left of this decade to go. But this is definitely one of those films that really was one of those movies that looked promising from the beginning and definitely lived up to all the hype when it was all said and done. Barbie, can't recommend this one enough. Number 10 on my list. So coming in at number 9, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And, talk about a great year where we had all these different franchises and intellectual properties getting these new and unique spins that made them turn into classic films in general. And, I think we're fine with intellectual properties and franchises if getting new films if you can do something new and unique with them. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem was definitely one of those movies that definitely fits that category big time. I mean, this is a film that could have easily just been Paramount's equivalent to the Spider-Man movies, the Spider-Verse films. But yeah, it takes a lot of the animation styles from Spider-Verse, but it does it in such a unique way. Like, the animation style alone in this movie is fantastic to look at. Like you really can see, yeah, there is Spider-Verse influences here, but it's its own unique vision. This vision of New York City that looks very much like the comic books in general. In fact, the Ninja Turtles, the fact that they're actual teenagers in this movie is really fun. You really do like the camaraderie between the 4 of them, and you do like seeing them going on these adventures trying to belong to these people in New York City. And like I said, the animation is top-notch. The voice cast in this movie is incredible. Jackie Chan as Splinter. Who would have thought that would have been great casting in general? But the people that they got to play the Turtles are very good. Like I said, they share great chemistry together. You can believe that they are indeed brothers. And this is directed by the guy who co-directed The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which is a criminally underrated animated film from a couple years ago that I'm glad to see that he got more work after that, because his vision is definitely in this film, and I love the visual style of the film. I love the movie doesn't pussyfoot around. It takes chances at times. It's not afraid to be a little bit more edgier than it should be. Like, Ice Cube playing the villain, the Superfly, is really fun to watch. You like watching all these other villains in general. They have all their own unique visions to them. Visions and voices, personifications, I should say, to them. And it works so well. It's a film that really is very well done. It's a very good story. Animation that's top notch. I mean, this is a great new way to see the Ninja Turtles on the big screen. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with other movies going forward. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, my number 9 favorite film of 2023. Number 8 of my favorite films of 2023, Cocaine Bear. I mean, it's a bear that does cocaine. How can you not love this movie? And not only did I love this movie, but I loved it more than I ever thought I could have. I mean, when I saw the trailers for this, I thought, this is going to be a good, fun movie. I really should not be expecting a whole lot with this film. But it really did exceed my expectations, all things considered, because of the fact that, A, it's directed by Elizabeth Banks, whose last movie she directed was the infamously bad Charlie's Angels reboot. But, I mean, it's a nice return to form for her. It shows that she can handle movies like this and give it its own wild and crazy unique spin. And it's just fun. It's fun to just watch a bear go around killing people while he's on cocaine, and you have this stacked cast. I mean, this is one of Ray Liotta's last movies he ever did. This is also a film that also includes Margot Martindale, Jesse Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family, Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson, Aldrin Ehrenreich, Just a really fun cast overall here, and just a really fun concept. You really do want to see this bear go all out and go kill these people in these horrendous ways, and the movie definitely delivers on a ton of that and more. It's not like this. I mean, it's not a great film overall, but it's a film that I had one of the more fun times I had in the movie theater this year. And watching it again, it still holds up after all this time. It's a really fun film, and I personally really enjoyed it a whole lot. Cocaine Bear, my number 8 film of 2023. I mean, it's a bear that does cocaine. What more do you want? Number 7 on my list, we have Godzilla -1. This one just came out in the last month, and talk about a big surprise. A movie that I don't think anybody really saw coming. We all thought this was just going to be just another Godzilla movie. You know, Godzilla goes around destroying Japan. Human characters that are not really all that interesting in general, and it was anything but that. You really do get invested in these characters in this particular storyline. The storyline here is that it takes place post-war. You have this surviving kamikaze pilot who's attacked on this island, and he's attacked by this gargantuan monster. And after the engineers die due to him failing to distract the monster, an overwhelming amount of guilt weighs in on him. So he goes back home to his family, to this, not even his family, but this homeless woman and baby that moves into his home. And he's now on a personal mission to team up with this large group of veterans to finally take down the monster known as Godzilla. And like I said before, the big thing that you take away from this is the fact that the human characters in this movie are so investing and so intriguing to watch. I mean, that's something that we really do not expect from a Godzilla film in particular. Like, Godzilla films, the characters are pretty stock in general. They always talk about, oh, it's Godzilla, and you have the dubbing voices, like, yeah, that type of stuff. But, like, in this movie in particular, you really do get behind the human characters so much. They are so well acted. You get invested in their storylines. You get involved in this main guy's situation. Like, he's feeling a lot of guilt because he didn't do what he was supposed to do to stop this monster. And now he has to team up with these people to stop him once and for all. And yeah, it's a perfect Godzilla film. Not only are you invested in seeing Godzilla doing what he does best, but you want to see these human characters defeat this monster in the end and actually bring peace back to some form of peace back. But yeah, it's a film that really I did not see coming. It was a film that came out last month, came out of nowhere. It was a movie that really nobody saw coming until the buzz started building around it. And it's just like, I have no choice, but I myself had to be like, I had no choice but to go see this film. And I'm glad I did, because it really did live up to all the hype and really is one of the best films of the year for the fact that it did things that most Godzilla movies have not been able to do. Create great human characters, create a good storyline, make you invested in what's going on. I mean, it's really a well-made film. And as much as I love the WB Godzilla films we've gotten over the last couple of years, like, this is probably the best Godzilla film I've seen since the original 50s Godzilla film. I mean, this is a film that definitely is one that really needs to be seen. If you have not seen Godzilla -1, see it. It's definitely worth it. It's one of the best films of the year. It's number 7 on my list of the best of 2023. Coming in at number 6, we have Nimona, which is a film that was originally produced by Blue Sky Studios, but then when Disney bought Fox and Blue Sky eventually shut down, the film eventually got shelved over to and pushed over to Netflix, which this has not been a good year for former Disney projects, because they also had The Sound of Freedom, which they could have had, but that they passed on that, and that went on to become one of the big hits of the year for Angel Studios, even though the questions about the box office numbers for that one are still very, very questionable. We're not here to talk about Sound of Freedom. We're here to talk about Nimona. And the story centers around a knight in a futuristic medieval world framed for a crime he didn't commit. So he has to go to... The only person that can help him prove his innocence is Nimona, a mischievous teen who happens to be a shape-shifting creature he's sworn to destroy. This movie is friggin' amazing. This is one of those movies that just goes to show you that animation is just kicking the ever-loving crap out of live-action movies right now. And it's not even close. They really cannot compete at this point. The animation overall is outstanding, done by DNEG Animation. It has this impressive stylistic and unique animated approach that's being common nowadays. We see it with the Spider-Man movies, we see it with Mitchell vs. the Machines, Puss in Boots, The Bad Guys, Lego Movie, Peanuts movie. It shows you how animation can be taken to new levels and heights, and this has an impressive, sleek animation style that makes it very unique compared to the typical animated formats we're used to seeing nowadays. The storytelling is really well done. The script as a whole does a great job, not only creating a great fun adventure, but also creating a very engaging storyline. It has characters you can buy into and plays with your emotions pretty well. It's a film that isn't dumbing itself down to the common denominator. It's not talking down to kids whatsoever. And I love it when movies like this don't give a shit about appeasing to the demographics. They're really trying to do and say and tell a well-done story. A great voice cast. Chloe Grace Moretz as Nimona is probably one of my favorite animated characters of recent memory. She is giving it her all in this, and she's clearly having the time of her life playing this character. Anytime she's on screen, you just love watching her in this. Riz Ahmed playing Ballister works incredibly well. You like the chemistry and friendship between the two of them. It's very top-notch. You got a lot of great people in here. The Try Guys, Eugene Lee Yang playing Ambrosius Goldenloin is very fun to watch. The cast also includes Frances Conroy, Lorraine Toussaint, Beck Bennett, RuPaul, India Moore. It's a strong cast that makes this material work so well. It's an amazing animated achievement, and it's hard to believe that this thing was near cancellation years ago, and Netflix said, we'll take a chance on it, and it did not disappoint by any means. It's really a towering animated achievement that has to be seen to be believed. I can't recommend this one enough. Nimona, number 6 on my list. Coming in at number 5 on my list of my favorite films of 2023, we have Polite Society, which is a film that slowly began to build buzz in the spring, and since the summer, a lot of people really forgot about it, but I didn't, because this was one of those movies that I really was looking forward to, and it really did not disappoint. You have a story here where you have a merry mashup of sisterly affection, parental disappointment, and bold action. Polite Society follows a martial artist in training, Ria Khan, who believes she must save her older sister Lena from a impending marriage. After enlisting the help of her friends, Ria attempts to pull off the most ambitious of all wedding heists in the name of independence and sisterhood. And this is a film that comes from Britain, and it really is one of those big surprises that just comes out of nowhere. And it really is well put together. You really do like the camaraderie between the two sisters in here. It's a slick, funny, well-put-together action comedy that is nearly reminiscent of something of last year's breakout hit RRR, or even more. It's kind of more on the lines of what Stephen Chow used to do back in the 2000s with like Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle. There's a little bit of that vibe in there as well. A phenomenal cast of relative unknowns, at least to us here in America. We really don't know these people all that well, but it has a lot of great action sequences, very stylized cinematography, a lot of visual splendor all around. It's a really damn good movie, and it's one that I definitely recommend as a must-watch. It's a film that unfortunately has kind of had its buzz simmered down a little bit since the summer when it really was at the peak, but it's a movie that I remember watching and I remember really enjoying a lot of. So, Polite Society, number 5 on my list of my favorite films of the year. Coming in at number 4 on the list, a movie you probably not have heard of, but I found this on Hulu, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's a movie called Rye Lane. Now, this is another British film, and it basically follows you follow two strangers in London, in South London, who they meet, they have a chance encounter after having been through recent breakups, and spend the day getting to know each other. They help each other deal with their nightmare exes, and potentially restoring their faith in romance. And these are the type of movies that I love these type of films. Films like the Before Sunrise trilogy, 500 Days of Summer, South Side with You, where you follow two strangers who end up going on this incredible adventure where they will eventually get together and be a couple when it's all said and done. And, you know, I talk about a lot how I don't really like a lot of these rom-com cliches, but in movies like this is where those cliches that I really don't like are usually done very well, because you know from the beginning these two will get together, but it's not going to go down the same rom-com cliche tropes that we're used to seeing here. And even if it does, it's usually done very cleverly. And this is definitely another one that deserves to be in that category. Vivian Oprah and David Johnson have great chemistry working off each other, and the film does a wonderful job of building their relationship and storyline, not going through the same generic storyline we've seen in movies like this over and over again. It creates a fresh spin on that with a nice mix of comedic and dramatic moments, a unique style that shows a lot of promise with this director, Rain Allen Miller. It premiered without a whole lot of attention, but I definitely would recommend checking it out. It definitely fits that mold of the films I talked about, you know, the Before trilogy and the South Side with You. And it shines on so many levels. And even if you're not the biggest rom-com fan, you can still find more than plenty to admire about this particular film. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year. It's one you probably never even heard of, but I highly recommend seeking it out. It's on Hulu. Go see Ride Lane. Coming in at number 3, we have Creed 3, appropriately enough. The third installment in the Creed series, but the first one in the Rocky series in general to not include Sylvester Stallone as either a writer or director or even an actor. He's nowhere involved in this except as the producer on the film, but the story here is that you have Adonis Creed, played once again by Michael B. Jordan, coming face-to-face with his childhood friend and former boxing prodigy, Damian Anderson, played by Jonathan Majors. Now, Michael B. Jordan is not only the star of this movie, but he's also the director as well as the producer. And this is his first film as a director. And I gotta say, man, if this is his first film as a director, I can't wait to see what he does in the future, because this guy really... He's already been one of the best rising actors we've had over the last couple of years, but man... This film really shows you that this guy has a great future ahead of him as a filmmaker, because he really does a fantastic job of creating probably easily the best film in the Creed series. And all the Creed films have been good films, right? Like the first movie was the great film. The second one was not as good, but still not bad either. But this one, I think, really is the strongest of the 3 films, and it shows what Michael B. Jordan's potential is as a filmmaker in general, not just an actor, but also as a director as well. And I guess we got to talk about the elephant in the room with Jonathan Majors, which, of course, in the last month, it has not gotten better for him. It's actually gotten much, much worse, as now he's going to jail. He's looking like he's going to go to jail for at least a year for the sexual harassment allegations and kind of ruining his rising career. But yeah, it sucks. But you know what? You know, you paid you dug this grave, now you got to reap what you sow. And but I will say this for him: he really is a good actor. I mean, we saw it in Quantumania. He was one of the few things in that movie that really was promising. You know, him as Kang the Conqueror, but unfortunately now that's not going to be a thing anymore. But in this movie, he's really good. Like, he plays against Michael B. Jordan very well here. You do see where he's coming from, and I do like his performance in this film. But like I said, it's unfortunate what happened to him, and his career is kind of dampened at this point. But I really do hope that he does come back in some way, shape, or form. He just needs to step away from a while, let this pass him by, and then come back and then show everybody what you can really do as an actor. Because this guy has proven to be a really great actor for so many years. I mean, not just these movies that have come out this year, but I'm talking about him on Lovecraft Country. I mean, Lovecraft Country was a phenomenal show that was on HBO. Got canceled after one season, and showed a lot of really good actors in there showing their potential. One of them was Jonathan Majors, and like I said, he is really good in the film. He plays very well with Michael B. Jordan's character. It's a really good performance from him. But again, it's a shame what happened to him. But the film overall is very well done. I love the visual style of the film too. Like, there are scenes in this movie where you could tell Michael B. Jordan took a lot of influences from anime, especially during the fight sequences. Like, people told me I was crazy for saying this, but I'll say it again. If they really want to try to do this Akira live action film again, I'd get Michael B. Jordan to do it. I mean, judging by what I see here, I think he could handle it. I mean, I don't think you should do it, but if you're really going to go in there and try and get another stab at it, I mean, call this guy up. I mean, I think he could really do it. But Creed 3 really was one of those really enjoyable films that I still really enjoyed even after the time I've seen it. It's a really good story. It shows what Michael B. Jordan can do as a filmmaker, not just an actor, but also as a director going down the road. And he creates a movie within the Rocky universe that still holds up without having Rocky Balboa there. It's a very good, well-made film. I really can't recommend this one enough. Creed 3, definitely on my list, definitely in my top 3 of my favorite films of the year. Coming in at number 2, my second favorite movie of the year, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which, I mean, not really surprising. You basically have the story of Cillian Murphy being brought in to take on this role in the Manhattan Project, the World War II undertaking that developed the first nuclear weapon. And not only do you have him in the cast, but you have a super studded cast that includes Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., who I still think should be the best supporting actor this year. His performance in this movie was incredible. Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, Kenneth Branagh. That's just some of the people that are involved in this movie. And really, this is Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. This is a film that was really... It shows everything that makes Christopher Nolan such a great filmmaker in general. And it's just a very entertaining film. It's a really good film that, like I said, with Kills of the Flower Moon, it's 3 hours long, but you never feel like you're sitting there for a long period of time. You're so invested in what's going on in this situation to the point where you don't realize that the bomb goes off 2 hours into the movie, and you still have an hour left of the FBI and the courtrooms going through these different things here, and you're still invested in what's going on that front. Like, it's a really great film that shows Nolan still one of the most significant filmmakers of our time. This is his, like I said, it's his magnum opus, and it shows that he's not afraid to be given. The studios aren't afraid to give him creative control of whatever he wants to do. Like, they know that he's going to turn in a profit on this film regardless of what happens. And this film definitely just shows everything that this director is best known for. And it creates engaging storyline. It creates a great visual feel. The sound editing in this movie is top notch. The editing is top notch. The writing is top notch. The acting top notch. Just top-notch stuff. This is easily the best stuff that Christopher Nolan has ever done. And that says a lot considering the great films that he's been involved in. I mean, this is a film that really shows what this guy can do with the stuff that he has to work with. And this should be the best picture of the year. If the Academy can get off of its high horse and stop trying to get these little uplifting storylines that movies that nobody really cares about, and movies that aren't going to define what 2023 is all about in terms of movies, this is a film that defines what 2023 is in terms of movies. A film that shows this is the highlight of the year. I hope it wins Best Picture. I think it definitely deserves a chance to be the best picture of the year. I think Christopher Nolan deserves to win an Academy Award once in his life, and not one of those honorary Oscars that are just there to just be like participation trophies, like a real legitimate Oscar. I hope this movie has a good Oscar run. I can't recommend this one enough. Oppenheimer. I'd say see it, but you probably have already seen it as well. Which brings us to the number one movie of 2023. And once I saw it, I was just like, yeah, it's not even going to come close to who's going to be the number one film. And I am, of course, talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse is one of my top 30 favorite films of all time, so naturally there was a lot of high buzz going into this movie. And trailers looked great. They made us wait for so long, but when that date came on June 2nd, 2023, and this movie came out, this film did not disappoint at all. This is a film that really, it's about as good as the original film, and maybe even better. I'm still debating whether or not it is, but you basically have a story where Miles, he goes off on this adventure with Gwen Stacy once again across the multiverse, where he meets a team of spider people known as the Spider Society, led by Spider-Man 2099, and he comes into conflict when he realizes that there's a new threat in the form of the Spot, played by Jason Schwartzman, and he also realizes that, you know, every Spider-Man has a moment that has to happen as part of the so-called canon event, and Miles basically is trying to prove to everybody that you don't need, that these canon events aren't really that important, and he's trying to create his own legacy and his own ending, and it ends on a really good cliffhanger. Like, you think that he's going to accomplish his mission, you think he's going to go do what he's going to do, and then you realize that the ball drops big time. Like, this moments happen that just happens like once in a while. Like, something will happen here, and then something else will happen, and something else will happen, and something else will happen, and then just when you think you can't take anymore, the movie ends, and basically it's setting itself up for the next film, Beyond the Spider-Verse, which unfortunately we might have to wait a while for, because it was supposed to come out this year, but because the actor strike happened, basically got delayed, so we have to wait a while to see what happens here. But man, the climax of this movie, it's the most intense I've seen since Infinity War. And we knew the Infinity Endgame was coming the next year, but the fact that we have to wait now until this movie gets made, I think I still heard that the writing is still not even done yet for this film. That's how important, that's how crazy this whole thing is, that this movie's not even close to being, this next film's not even close to being finished yet. It's just like honestly, I can't wait that long for the next movie, man. I really want to know what happens to these characters and what's going to happen to the storyline going forward. It's just like, that's the power of what makes this movie so special. It keeps you invested and it keeps you on your toes on a number of different levels. And it's just a phenomenal film in general. From an animation level, we talked about how Nimona showed what people are doing with animation now and how it could take it to these new levels. This movie goes to extreme levels. You have all these different forms of animation and even some live action and throw it in here, and it's meshed together so well. You don't really tell the difference. You can't really tell that that this had a lot of work put into it. And I mean, you could tell it has a lot of work put into it. What am I saying? But like, it just goes to show you, like, these different unique animation styles. Like, you can tell, like, they're using different animations to feel what, to express what the characters are feeling. Like, you know, one of the big, like, there's a lot of scenes where, like, there's a big storyline with Haley Steinfeld's character, Gwen Stacy, where her father realizes who she actually is, and she doesn't know how he's going to handle that. And so by the end of the movie, when you see, it's interesting because when they're talking, you see, like when Gwen Stacy's talking, she's got like a pink background around them. When the father's talking, it's a completely different background. Like, you see all these different styles coming together here. It's like you're going into a museum, and it's moving around, and it's moving as you're moving around. Like, it feels like that type of a film, and it's just incredible to watch. And like I said, voice acting, story-wise, it's great. Voice work, top notch. You know, you got a lot of the same people back from the original film, but you also have new people. Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae as Spider-Woman, Karan Soni as Spider-Man India. You have Daniel Kaluuya playing Spider-Man, Hobie Brown, who is Spider-Punk. Shea Wingham as George Stacy. Mahershala Ali, once again, as Uncle Aaron in this movie. The way they bring him back is very interesting. Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099. His parents get a bigger role in this movie too, specifically his mother. Like, the father had a big role in the first movie, Brian Tyree Henry, but Lauren Velez, who plays his mother, she actually has a bigger role in this movie than I would have guessed, and I like that they're going in that direction here. Like, it's a really, everything about this movie is pitch perfect. I really cannot say anything bad about this movie. This is a film that really lived up to a lot of those expectations I had and went even higher than that. I mean, that's how great this movie is. That's how amazing that this film really has become. And the more and more I think about it, I really do go back and forth on whether or not I think this is better than Into the Spider-Verse, or it's about as good. It's really in between. Like, if they find a way to make this last film as great as this film is, this is going to be one of the great trilogies we've ever had. I mean, this is a fantastic film. I really don't think I need to say too much more about this one, because you probably have this in your top 10 list as well. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, just an incredible movie. What more do I got to say? It's the best movie of 2023, bar none. So those are the best movies of 2023. Let me know your thoughts down below on your top 10 list. Some of the best films you thought were good, were the best of the year. Next week, we tackle the other end of the spectrum. We tackle the worst movies of 2023, and that's going to be the fun one. So be on the lookout for that next week. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And like I said, let me know your thoughts down below if you thought of what your favorite movies of the year were. Thank you for watching this. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.